The Galactic Academy's xenobiology classroom fell silent as Professor Zekthar's scaled hands traced complex molecular structures across the holographic display. The massive Draknari educator's voice rumbled through the chamber, explaining the evolutionary pathways that had shaped predator species across 1,000 worlds. In the back row, the Vorthak pack lounged with calculated arrogance. Their lupine forms sprawled across reinforced seats, amber eyes gleaming with barely contained hunger. They were the apex predators of Vorthak Prime, where entire ecosystems had evolved to flee from their ancestors' howls. Even here, surrounded by dozens of species from across the galaxy, they commanded respect through fear. Marcus Chen sat 3 rows ahead, his human frame seeming insignificant among the towering Draknari, the armored Kethlori, and the crystalline Zephyrians. His simple academy uniform marked him as one of the newer species to join the Galactic Consortium, barely 2 centuries since first contact. Humans were considered curious but harmless, their homeworld lacking any truly dangerous predators. Earth's food chain had produced nothing more threatening than large cats and bears, creatures that seemed almost quaint compared to the galaxy's real monsters. The lead Vorthak, Snarlex, felt his lips curl back in amusement as he watched the small human take diligent notes. These soft-skinned bipeds fascinated him, not as equals, but as prey that had somehow developed technology before being properly culled. Their homeworld was a paradise of easy hunting, he'd heard. No real predators to speak of, just scattered pack hunters that barely qualified as threats. The howl, Professor Zekthar was explaining, serves multiple purposes in predator evolution: territorial marking, pack coordination, psychological warfare against prey species. Snarlex couldn't resist the opportunity. He threw back his head and released a bone-chilling howl that reverberated through the classroom's acoustic dampeners. The sound carried the genetic memory of 10 million years of successful hunts, the dying screams of countless prey species, the absolute dominance of evolution's perfect killers. Other students instinctively cowered. The crystalline Zephyrians dimmed their natural luminescence. Even some of the larger species shifted uncomfortably, primitive fear responses overriding their rational minds. His packmates joined in, their voices harmonizing in a symphony of predatory dominance. This was their statement. They were the true, apex species, the rightful inheritors of the galaxy's top tier. Every other creature in the room existed only because the Vorthak allowed it. Professor Zekthar's ridge crest flattened in annoyance, but before he could restore order, another sound cut through the air. The human was howling back. It started, low, almost subaudible, a rumble that seemed to emanate from somewhere deeper than Marcus's slight frame should have allowed. Then it built, not with the pure, clean note of the Vorthak pack call, but with something far more complex. Layer upon layer of harmonics, each one carrying its own message. The Vorthak faltered mid-howl, their genetically programmed responses struggling to process what they were hearing. This wasn't the panicked scream of prey or the competing challenge of another pack predator. This was something else entirely. Marcus's howl carried the memory of species that had learned to fear the dark, not because of what hunted them, but because of what they had become. It echoed with the voices of hunters who had driven megafauna to extinction, with nothing but pointed sticks and endless persistence. It resonated with the battle cries of warriors who had conquered continents, who had tamed fire and lightning, who had looked at the vast cosmos and declared it insufficient. But more than that, it carried something the Vorthak had never encountered, the sound of a predator that had transcended simple hunting. Humans hadn't merely survived their homeworld's food chain. They had dominated it so completely that they'd been forced to create new challenges, new prey, new hunts among the stars themselves. The classroom's other students felt their fear responses shift and intensify, but not toward the Vorthak anymore. The human's howl spoke of persistence hunting that could last for days, of prey run to exhaustion not through speed or strength, but through relentless, calculating endurance. It whispered of tool use so advanced that entire species could be erased not through claw and fang, but through the simple application of physics and chemistry. Professor Zekthar's own crest was now fully flattened, his survival instincts finally recognizing what his academic mind had missed. Humans weren't the galaxy's newest prey species, They were its newest apex predator, and they'd been hiding in plain sight. The howl reached its crescendo, and in that moment, every being in the classroom understood something fundamental about Earth's evolutionary history. Humans hadn't developed space travel despite being prey animals. They'd developed it because they had run out of things to hunt on their own world. Marcus let the sound fade gradually, then calmly returned to his note-taking as if nothing had happened. His expression remained focused on Professor Zekthar's molecular diagrams, giving no indication that he'd just demonstrated why humans were the only species in galactic history to have eliminated every competing predator on their homeworld. The Vorthak pack sat in stunned silence, their pack hierarchy suddenly and inexplicably shattered. Snarlex found himself unable to meet the human's eyes, some deep-buried genetic wisdom warning him that he was in the presence of something far more dangerous than anything his species had evolved to handle. Professor Zekthar cleared his throat and continued the lecture, though his voice carried a new note of respect when he glanced toward the human student. The molecular structures on his display seemed suddenly less theoretical, more immediately relevant to survival. In the back of the room, the Vorthak pack no longer lounged with arrogant confidence. They sat upright, alert, their predator instincts finally functioning properly in the presence of a true apex species. And Marcus Chen continued taking notes, already mentally planning his next semester's course load. Interstellar military strategy looked particularly interesting.